Hello, stitching friends. I'm Amy. I'm the globetrotting stitcher. I'm here tonight with Gary, who is also a globetrotting stitcher, and it is lovely to be back with you. You may have caught that I said tonight because we are filming this at night, which is a little bit unusual, a lot unusual for us actually. We normally film our Flosstube updates on weekends in the morning, and things have been wild for me at work, and they're not going to slow down anytime soon. So we're filming this at our first possible opportunity, which is a weeknight. Also, hopefully you're not going to hear this in the background, but our neighbor is mowing his lawn at 7 something at night. So we're just going to roll with it. But regardless, whether you're new or whether you're finding us for the first time or you're an old friend, welcome back. Thank you for sharing some of your time with us. And we really hope that you enjoy today's update. First of all, I wanted to just say how much we appreciated all the comments that you left on our last video. As many of you know, if you've been watching us for a while or watching our last couple of videos, Gary's been running into some headaches with a couple of the projects he's working on and has had a lot of frogging, and he's got a restart that he's got to do. And so we just appreciated both your sympathy, but also hearing from many of you who said that it made you feel better about your own stitching mistakes to hear that Gary's been struggling as well, and it just kind of makes you as a stitcher feel less alone. Like it's.
I'm an inspiration.
I don't even know what to say about that. So anyway, Gary being inspirational and encouraging to many of you. If anyone would like to invite the frog away from our house, we would not object at all. We're done hosting him. As far as other kind of life updates and things going on, it's been a couple weeks ago now, so I'm going to have to see if I could dig out some photos, but I got the chance several weeks ago to meet with one of our, there was a small local stitchy meetup, and I finally got to meet in person another Flosstuber who I have wanted to meet for a very long time. So those of you who are not already watching Robin from Lady Robins, you should be watching her. Please go find her channel. But I have wanted to meet Robin for a very long time. She lives in my old hometown, and so she invited me and a number of other local stitchers to come out to her family's cabin for a day and just have a nice stitchy meetup. So it was a really lovely time. Met so many really nice people. It was a beautiful setting. And it was great to also reconnect with a couple of other stitchers who are local to me. So those of you who know Becca from Sambry Stitches, Becca and I have known each other for several years now and get to see each other periodically. So it was really nice to reconnect with her. And also Megan, the Frozen Crafter, who's also on Flosstube, and then a number of folks who are not on Flosstube. But it was a really lovely time. And I'm looking forward to the next opportunity to get together with stitchers. But that was just fantastic. So it was a nice break from the routine. Other than that, like I said, things have been wild for me at work. And so I did want to let you all know that I'm getting ready in like 2 days to leave on my next trip. And this is the beginning of a pretty heavy travel season for me through the end of the year. So I am heading to Rwanda, which is always a pleasure. I love going to Rwanda. And after that, let's see, I've got 4 international trips between now and the end of the year. So I'm going to Rwanda. I've got 2 trips to Kenya, and then I'm going to have a trip to London and to Paris in the beginning of December. And so I wanted to kind of throw it out there a little bit on the early side that those of you who are UK stitchers, and some of you I know or have connected with on Flosstube, I would love, as we get a little bit closer to that date, to maybe see if it's possible to connect and do an in-person stitching meetup while I'm in London before I head home. So I'm going to call out a couple people, specifically Morty and Brom. I would love to meet you if you're around and available. Lynn, Lancashire Stitcher, I would love to see you again. And then Carol R., who is a longtime viewer and friend of our channel. would really love to meet up with her. And then there are others of you who are out there that that periodically would get your comments, or that I've met on past trips. And so it'd be great to reconnect. So please reach out, and we'll try and get something pulled together while I'm in London, and would love to see some folks. So just wanted to get that out there, and also give you guys a heads up that because the next several months are going to be so busy travel-wise, we might be a little bit more sporadic and not as predictable in how often we post updates, because it'll be kind of catch as catch can, both for me and for Gary. He's also going to have some travel in the next few months. So between the two of us, we've got a busy road ahead of us. So just stick with us, and we'll update you as often as we can. So with that, let's get into the stitching. We will start. I've got 2 fully finished objects to share with you. And the first of these is a little project called Swifty. This is one that I showed in a recent video as a finish. It was a really quick project, and it's a gift for my niece who is turning 13 in a few weeks. So here is my little finish of Swifty. This was a fun stitch. Like I said, it was really quick. I did modify it by adding this little heart charm here, because I just thought it, if it's a Taylor Swift pillow, it needs to have a little bit of sparkle to it. So I stitched this on a piece of 32 count opalescent raspberry smash linen by Vintage Needle Arts. That shop is on Etsy, and I will make sure there's a link in the description box below. The designer on this was Simple Wave Studio. That's also an Etsy shop, and they will be linked below as well if this is something you would want to stitch. So as you can see, I just did a fairly simple pillow finish on this, with the black pom-pom trim, mini pom-pom trim from Lady Dot Creates. And then I just pulled a little piece of cotton fabric from my stash with some nice inspirational phrases, which feels very appropriate for something that's Taylor Swift themed. And then threw a little charm on the back here that's pretty. So her birthday is in a couple of weeks, and I think she's going to be really delighted to have a little Taylor Swift pillow to enjoy. So that's that. And I'm just going to put that here with Batman because I don't want to try and scramble my stash over here. So the next fully finished object I have is a design that I stitched in the seasonal category of my rotation, and finished that fairly recently. In fact, I think I showed you the finish on our last video, maybe. So this is Honey Gardens, and this is a design by Filigram. I stitched this on a piece of 32 count Chase Escape linen by Silk Weaver, and I mostly used the called for DMC with a couple of minor substitutions. So this is how this turned out. As I've mentioned in previous videos, this project, or this chart, is one of a pair. The other one is called Honey Fields. And when I finished Honey Fields a couple of years ago, I actually ordered a frame and mats because they're the exact same dimensions, the 2 charts. So I ordered matching mats and frames for both projects. So if this looks a little bit familiar, it should, because it is a matched pair to the other project that I finished. So I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I didn't get it done quite early enough to actually put up in my summer decor. I've actually already taken that down, even though it's not autumn quite yet. And most of the autumn stuff has gone up already, but I was really pleased with how this one turned out. It framed up pretty quickly for me, and was a pretty smooth process. So that is my full finish on Honey Gardens. Okay, let's get into the whips. So the first whip I'm going to show you is my full coverage project. I spent a week working on Rose Trellis In by Heaven and Earth Designs. I am stitching this on a piece of 28 count white Lugana 2/1 using a combination of half stitch and continental stitch. And the last time you saw this project, I'm working in the next to the last row along the bottom, the next to last row of pages. And I'm close to the center of the design. So there is a woman who is the proprietress of the inn, I assume, and she's standing in the open front doors of the inn at the top of the steps. And so the last time you saw this, I had pretty well finished stitching her. There were maybe a couple little missing ninja stitches, but she was mostly done. I had also finished stitching about halfway across the front steps of the inn. I finally got to finish up. There's a little heart sign that's hanging on one of the posts on the front porch. So I got that stitched in, and then also finished stitching in the face and the head of, there's a lady sitting on the front porch with her husband. And I assume they're having a cup of tea together. So I finished her head and was starting to get into her body. So here is where this is right now. I actually made quite good progress. I got 3,400 stitches on this in my last rotation, which is a significant number of stitches. I don't normally get quite that many when I spend a week on this, but a lot of that is because there's not much confetti in the steps here, and so that gave me a good boost on my number of stitches. But as you can see, I'm now completely finished with this kind of side here and the door. All those ninja stitches are done. I've got the paneling stitched here now. The front steps are almost completely done, and I got more of this kind of front walkway stitched in, although some of this is kind of hiding behind the parked threads here. And as you can see, these white and yellow floral flower baskets or flower pots that are sitting on this side of the steps are now starting to show up in duplicate over on the right side of the steps. The other thing that I finished, I have now stitched in all of this lady here that I had just had her head last time, but now we have all of her kind of sitting behind this railing on the front porch. I think her name is going to be Matilda. That's what she feels like, a Matilda to me. And then you can't see it behind the park threads, but there's quite a bit of stitching that also got done in behind these threads, which is, again, kind of the slats from the banister along the front porch, and then some bushes and flowers. So this is really coming along. It was really exciting to make so much progress and to really feel like you can see it feels like super noticeable progress at this point. So this was a fun one to work on. All right. The next thing I have to show you, and I'm showing these not in order of what I worked on, but just the order that they're in is the order that they're in. So the next thing I have to show you is my wild card piece that I am stitching as far as in my rotation. I am working on Cabin Fever. This is a Dimensions Gold Collection kit, and I am using all of the kit fabric and floss. So the last time you saw this one, let's see, I had started filling in more of the sky and a bit more of the tree that as you're moving toward the top right of the design. I guess right would be this way for you guys. As you're moving toward the top right of the design, I was filling in more of the tree and sky along the top edge. I had also started stitching further to the right side of the house along, not so much the roof line, but there's a bit of an apex that marks the right side border of the house. So I had started stitching in that. And then there is a tree that is just to the left-hand side of the cabin, and I had finished most of the stitching in that, as well as continued working my way down through the pond and the background next to the deer. So here's where this is right now. Again, some really nice progress on this time. So you can see I've nearly finished filling in yet another like big chunk of columns over here, and got more of the pond in. I've filled in quite a bit of this center section now. So we've got, kind of where the sky is meeting up with the pond. As you can see, this tree is completely finished. And more of this kind of stitching in here where the pond and the reflection is showing up is coming out now. Another piece that was really exciting for me was that I am now stitched all the way across the top. So we have the full width of the design stitched in, at least across this top row, which felt like kind of a mini milestone. It was really good to kind of get to that other border. And then as you can see, I have filled in more of the house. So I've got more of the chimney, more of the roof, and I'm just continuing to kind of fill in and carry down. We've also got a nice big tree trunk emerging here. So this is coming along nicely. Another thing I spent a little bit of time doing, I put in a few strands of backstitch. So there's a little bit more backstitch and dimension showing up over in here, as well as this was, for me, really impactful. I got, I think, one good solid long strand of backstitch, black backstitch in this part of the cabin here. And so now you can actually see the details showing up in the railings and the slats in those railings. So this feels like it made really good progress, and it was another one that was really fun to work on, and yeah, it's really starting to come along. So that is where I am on Cabin Fever. So next we are going to go to Gary to tell you what he has been up to.
Okay, well, so I'm working on Wonder Woman, as you might know. Wonder Woman is it's a I don't know why I'm messing this up. Anyway, Wonder Woman by Cross Stitch Bay Etsy, or Cross Stitch Bay. It's an Etsy shop. It's stitched on 16 count pewter Aida with most of the called for DMC. The only place we've changed it is in her hair, and that's because it was kind of a teal, and it just looks better as a darker blue. But it turns out that her, the blue in the bottom part of her outfit is also teal, so that's going to be changed as well. But anyway, so the last time you saw this one, I don't remember what it looked like. I think I had just frogged a bunch out and put a bunch in and was trying to get the rope done. Oddly enough, I was going to finish the rope, but well, before I tell you that, I should say this is where it is now, and you can see where I've made a good deal of progress with making her lasso, or whatever you want to call it. But I got to a point where I stitched across, and the line was supposed to be one below two other ones, but it was actually right next to them. And I was like, something's not right. So we checked and found out that, in fact, something was not right. Anyway, so I just haven't cross-stitched in a little while. I've just kind of taken it easy. But we have a solution. We'll get that going. And yes, it never ends. If you're going to cross-stitch, you're going to make mistakes, and that's the way it goes. The trick is to keep going. Speaking of which, let's talk about Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong is stitching. I didn't write that; it just happened. What is it? Louis Armstrong is by Stitching Jules Designs, and it's stitched on 16 count white Aida, and it's black. It's 310 Aida. That's, unless you wanted to do a different color, that's fine too. But some of you might know that I think I got to almost completing the third page of it's 10 pages in total. I almost got finished with the third page when we realized that that if I completed it, it wouldn't fit on the what's that? I don't want to say fabric. What do you? Okay, it wouldn't fit on the fabric. It would be too long. So we put that down for a little while. But we did decide that I'd go ahead and restart that. Now I don't really have a start on it yet, but I wanted to show you how much fabric we have. So first, here's a picture of Amy holding said fabric, and she's standing up. She's not sitting down. She's standing up, and she has her arms up like that. Look, my hands are gone. Anyway, what is it? So that's one representation of it. Here's another one, and I'll take a picture. Well, no, you have to wait. What is it? So here's another representation of it. If you look here, we have a wee bit of a bog roll, I think they call it in some places. Or maybe that's wrong. Maybe I should just say paper towel roll of fabric. And look at that. Look at that thickness. This thing, it's like a football field. It's going to fit on this. No matter what happens, it will fit. It might be a nightmare in the end of it, but it's going to fit. So we've solved that problem. Now I'm going to let my wife speak her piece.
Well, what I was going to say is it'd be really funny if you said, here's where it was last time, It showed your last picture of the Louis Armstrong that is no more. And here's where it is now with your one stitch. But the moment has passed. However, you've got enough fabric there for like 6.
Here's where it is now. This is not where it was before. It was much more done. Anyway, so that's where we are on all of that jazz. I'm just going to put this over here. You can't see it. It'll be fine. Anyway, so that brings us to the action figure segment, which is, I'm sure, everyone was waiting for. This guy is a Batman. Again, it's another DC multiverse. I'm kind of stuck on those guys for now. I do get other ones, but I've been on those for a bit. This one is Batman. It's like DC 1000. It was one of the earlier iterations of Batman. And for whatever reason, they made his hands purple, or at least my wife says they're purple. I think they're pink, but you know, whatever. Anyway, so it's that Batman, and really the only reason why I got him is because if you look in his left hand, he has a wrench. I don't know what he's going to do with that. Perhaps fix the Batmobile or the Penguin or something. Anyway, so that's it on the action figures, and that's it on my particular cross-stitching stuff that's going on.
All right. Okay, so I've got two. We might have a bark here. We're gonna hope that doesn't happen. I've got 2 more projects to show you today. So the first is my Colors of Venice, or Die Farben Venedig. This chart is by Historisches Stückmuster. And I am stitching it on a piece of 36 count cream and sugar linen by Fiber on a whim, using all the called for Soie d'Alger silks. So the last time you saw this design, I had made some nice progress where I had finished all of the stitching in the second row of rectangles. So I had just finished the kind of like the silvery gray rectangle on the far left, and then went down into the third row and stitched the navy blue rectangle on the far left. I was almost done with that navy blue rectangle. I had like 20, 30 stitches of pale blue to finish. So here's where this is right now. So as you can see, I did finish the last of those stitches in this in the navy rectangle. I came over here and I did this kind of gold brown with the gray and silver in it. So that one's fully done. And then I made a pretty good start on this, the last rectangle on this row, the lighter blue. So this one, it feels like it really has turned a corner. It seemed like I was stuck up in this top half for the longest time. And all of a sudden we're really closing in on the finish here in the next couple of months. So, you can also see I got a start on, some of the words are escaping me, but this stuff, oh my word, you guys. This pretty stuff here in this bottom rectangle in the middle. So
all those purdy bits.
Purdy bits. All I can think of is curlicue, and I know that's not the word I want. So anyhow, this is where we are on the Colors of Venice. I really love this. And I'm really excited to be kind of moving through this at a good pace now. So that's how we're coming along. All right. The final whip I have to show you is my full coverage, or not my full coverage. I mean, it is a full coverage, but it's not my main full coverage. This is my weekend project. And so I am stitching Butterfly Port Mauve by Heaven and Earth Designs on a piece of 28 count white easy grid Lugana using, again, the 2/1 half stitch combination with continental stitch. That was such an awkward way to say that. I'm sorry, y'all. My brain is like a little bit done today. Okay, so the last time you saw this, I was just like about 150 stitches to go to kind of hit a big milestone of having completed 30,000 stitches. I did cross that milestone, so now I'm at like 30,000, almost 700. So I managed to get about 800 stitches of progress since you've seen this. And it may not be super noticeable, just to be really honest. So the last time you saw it, I really had worked on, the big progress was there was a new like little peach flower bud that had emerged, and I had stitched a fair bit of background. The 800 stitches of progress you will see, here's where it is now. Let's just say that. So the 800 stitches of progress that you see in the current version of this is virtually all I think it's actually all background. This is, obviously this is a very background heavy piece. I'm in a background heavy column, and this one got a little bit neglected this last weekend. It did not get any of its time that it was supposed to get because we had a very busy weekend. But you know what? We just keep plugging away, and it feels really good to be past the 30,000 stitch mark. I think the other milestone that I've crossed in the last, since the last time you saw this, is I finished another full page of stitching on this. So it's, I've finished, I think it's pages like 1, 7, and 11 or something like that. Yeah. So because HAID pages go from left to right, obviously it's not pages 1, 2, and 3, but I do have 3 pages finished. So hopefully that's clear and makes sense. Anyway, this is where this is. And it's going to get probably badly neglected over the next couple of months, unfortunately, just with traveling, as much travel as I have coming up. But we'll just keep plugging away and make as much progress as we can. So that's all we have as far as stitching to show you. We did have one question on our last video that I wanted to make sure that we answered. And so this question came from Gina Stitches, and Gina is actually another UK stitcher. I had the great pleasure of meeting Gina a couple of years ago on a visit, and she is lovely, very, very lovely, and she throws a really great retreat, or she puts together a really great retreat. So Gina asked or said, when you say you were doing the full coverages in a mix of full cross and continental, is that dependent on your mood, or do you feel you get different effects between the two stitches? I thought that was a really great question. Thanks so much, Gina. So it's definitely not dependent on my mood. I actually, from one row to the next, switch back and forth. So if I do half stitch in one row, I do continental stitch in the next row, and so on and so forth. And I find that that really helps to prevent warping on the full coverage because I do it in half stitches rather than full stitches. So when I first started stitching my rose trellis in, I wasn't stitching that way. And many of you have probably noticed that the top part of rose trellis in actually has some pretty serious warping. I'm a bit concerned, and have been for some time, that, even with blocking, once it's fully finished, or once the stitching is finished and I've washed it, I will block it. I may have to block it several times. I'm still concerned that I won't be able to block it to the degree that I'll get it fully straightened out. Whereas because I've been using this kind of from one row to the next, going back and forth between the continental and the half stitch, it's pulling the fabric in different directions. And so thankfully I've had no warping on Butterfly Port Mauve. So that's just how I do it when I'm doing half stitch. And anytime I'm doing like a heavy half stitch section now, and I've found that to be a really great way to keep the fabric even and not get warping. So thank you for that question. So I think that kind of brings us to the end of today's update. A little bit, I don't know if it's short and sweet, but a little shorter and sweeter than our typical updates. So we'll just wrap up really quickly by telling you what we're going to be working on over the next couple of weeks. So this week I am actually working on my new start. It was a new start, I think, the last time you saw it, which is a seasonal design. I am stitching, it doesn't actually have the name, the designer doesn't name her charts. So the designer is Uncroix La Thème d'une Tea. I have terrible French. And she just gives her charts numbers. So this chart is number 2016. I'm calling it Joyeux Noël, because it says Joyeux Noël on it. And so I am working on that piece. It's only going to get a couple of days of stitching this week, and even those are going to be kind of shortened. I won't get as much stitching time even on a regular night as I would, just because there's too much going on. But I'm getting as much progress as I can before I leave for Rwanda. As far as in Rwanda, I've decided to take cabin fever. So I'm kind of restructuring where things are falling in my rotation just because of trying to accommodate my travel stuff. So I am going to take one project with me, and that's going to be my wild card. My cabin fever is going to Rwanda with me. So that's actually going to, depending on how busy I am, which it's not looking good, you guys, it looks like it's going to be another wild trip. But depending on how much stitching time I'm able to get while I'm there, we'll see what kind of progress you see next time. And then when I get back from the trip, I am going to spend a good week. Yes, I should get a full week on my Fancy Lady. So I'm currently working on Rose Trellis The Rose of Sharon by Mirabilia. So that's what I have coming up. And then, Gary, what's your plan as far as your 2 projects?
I would tell you, and but I probably will have to take it all out between now and the next time. So I'm not going to say anything. You might see progress. You might see deprogress. I don't really know. That's not a word. But at any rate, we'll see what happens.
Okay. Stay tuned. The suspense is killing us. All right, that's it for us today. Thank you so much. We'll let you get on to your next video, but we hope you enjoyed spending a little bit of time with us. We look forward to seeing you again, hopefully pretty soon. If you enjoy our videos, we do hope you'll give us, hit the like button. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider sticking around. We'd love to have you as part of our little family of stitching friends. Please feel free to leave us comments. I can't promise I will get to answering them right away, just given how busy things are, but we do read all of them, and I eventually make sure I get a heart on all of them as well. And you're welcome to send me email. Again, I'm a lot slow to respond these days, but I always enjoy hearing from you, and we'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. So that email is globetrottingstitcher@gmail.com. I'll also try to put some updates and progress on Instagram. And if you're interested, sometimes when I'm traveling, if there's anything interesting to see, I'll also share that on Instagram. So
let me know if you want me to put my progress on Instagram too. I could do that.
I think that'd be great.
If you'd like to see it. Or you just want to wait in between. It's up to you.
I think it'd be great, personally.
We have 1 minute and 25 seconds.
Okay. Well, that does it for us. Take care. Happy stitching. We'll see you soon. If somebody wants to invite that frog, you're welcome to do that. Bye.